Upper epidermis cell. Translucent, transparent, thin, flat, no chloroplasts to allow passage of light through to palisade cells. Leaf. K. Xylem vessel. Continuous tube, no cytoplasm, no named cell contents, hollow, no end walls, no cross walls. Pits, to allow transport of water mineral ions to leaf. OR. Lignin, to prevent collapse of water column, support the leaf to maximize light absorption. 2b. Limiting factor. 6. Source. Sunlight. Chemical. Water vapor. Chlorophyll. 2a. An inherited structural feature that helps an organism to survive, reproduce in its environment. 2b. A. Palisade mesophyll. B. Spongy mesophyll. C. Air spaces. 2bii. Any three from many air spaces, large air spaces. Reduces density of the leaf, allowing it to float beyond water, be near surface of water. So accessible to light. Carbon dioxide gas exchange. 4. Photosynthesis. 2c. Total of 5 from. Comparison, max 3 from. Tomato has more stomata on its lower epidermis than its upper epidermis. Water lily has stomata only on upper epidermis, no stomata on lower epidermis. Water lily has more stomata on upper epidermis than tomato. Water lily has more stomata per square millimeter than tomato. Any use of comparative manipulated figures from table including unit at least once in the answer. Explanation. Tomato has most stomata on lower epidermis, so not facing the sun. Idea that tomato needs to reduce water loss, transpiration, evaporation. Water lily floats on water, so only upper surface is exposed to air. Water lily has large number of stomata as water does not need to be conserved. 2cii. Guard cells. 4a. 40 degrees Celsius. 4b. Any 6 from before 40 degrees Celsius. Increasing temperature increases the kinetic energy of reactants molecules, increasing the frequency rate of effective collisions. More enzyme substrate complexes are formed, releasing more oxygen, glucose products. Temperature is the limiting factor at 40 degrees Celsius. Optimum temperature, maximum number of enzyme substrate complexes collisions after 40 degrees Celsius. Increasing temperature changes the shape of active sites of enzymes. Reference to denaturation. Substrate, no longer complementary to active sites, can no longer fit into active sites. Fewer, no, enzyme substrate complexes are formed. Fewer, no, products are released. E.g. stomata close is high rate of transpiration, so no CO2 enters. 4c. Any 2 from. Carbon dioxide is a limiting factor, so that carbon dioxide is not a limiting factor. So that temperature is the only variable limiting factor. To ensure that the effects are caused only by temperature. 4d. Any 1 from. Some is used for aerobic respiration to react with glucose. Some remains in air spaces. Any 2 from. Absorbs, traps, captures light. Transfers, converts light energy into chemical energy for the synthesis of glucose carbohydrates. New question. To absorb, receive enough light energy. Light is necessary for photosynthesis. For the organisms to make sugars, starch to convert light energy into chemical energy. 4a. Any 6 from. Light. B and C is light intensity increases the rate of photosynthesis. Increases and remains constant. Rates of photosynthesis are the same at lowest light intensities. Light provides energy for photosynthesis. Where the line rises initially, light intensity is limiting the limiting factor. Line's rate levels off where light intensity is not limiting. In B, light intensity becomes limiting at higher light intensity than C. Semicolon. Carbon dioxide. Idea that line C levels off at a lower rate of photosynthesis, lower light intensity. Carbon dioxide concentration is lower for C, 0.04% vs 0.4%. Carbon dioxide is reactant, substrate, raw material needed for photosynthesis. In C, carbon dioxide is a limiting factor at a lower light intensity. In B, carbon dioxide is a limiting factor at a higher light intensity. Temperature. Idea that temperature is limiting for B at high light intensities. 4BO2. 4C. Any 4 from. Glucose used in respiration to provide energy, to release energy. Is an energy store. Glucose converted to stored as starch. Glucose converted to sucrose. Sucrose. 4. Translocation, transport in the phloem, sent to sinks. Glucose, fructose, sucrose in nectar. Nectar to attract insects, pollinators. Glucose, fructose, sucrose in fruits to attract animals. Glucose converted to cellulose. Cellulose to build cell walls. Lignin for cell walls. Used to make amino acids, fatty acids. Semicolon. 2I glucose is produced by photosynthesis. Light energy is trapped by chlorophyll. Light energy is converted to chemical energy. Carbon dioxide and water are used react together to produce glucose and oxygen. 2AII translocation. 2AE sometimes roots release energy glucose, sucrose. Named sugar. For respiration. Example of use of energy in a plant, e.g. flowering, new leaves growth plant. Sometimes leaves cannot produce enough glucose. Carbohydrates. 2 by Q phloem, S xylem, 2 BII1 ref to osmosis of water across bag membrane. 2 water moves into source bag sucrose solution. 3 from high water potential to low water potential. 4 sucrose molecules cannot cross the partially permeable membrane. 5 sucrose is too large to fit through partially permeable membrane. 6 water moving in increases the pressure volume of solution in source bag. 7 increased volume pressure water moving in forces pushes the solution up tube Q. 8 volume of bags has not increased water has moved out of the sink bag. 9 sucrose diffuses along tube Q. 10 down a sucrose concentration gradient between source and sink. 2 see the sucrose concentration water potential in the two bags is the same. 2D nitrate ions. 5I carbon dioxide is needed for photosynthesis. Atmospheric carbon dioxide concentration is a limiting factor. Glucose is a product of photosynthesis needed for growth. 5AII named fossil fuel burners carbon dioxide gas cylinders. 5AE diffusion high concentration to low concentration through stomata reference to guard cells. 5 by 65%, 2 megapixels 1 correct calculation e.g. 651 to 394 divided by 394 equals 65.228 to any number of significant figures. MP2 correct rounding to 2 significant figures. MP2 from incorrect MP1. 5 BII sodium. 5 B any 3 from. Enzymes are involved in photosynthesis respiration. Too much heat can denature enzyme change shape of active site. Correct reference to transpiration described water vapor loss. More likely to wilt. Decrease in yield death. 4A structure made up of a group of tissues working together to perform a specific functions. 4 by A upper epidermis. 4 BII. C. Vascular bundle, xylem and phloem vein. 4B. B is the palisade, mesophyll tissue layer cells. Cells are tightly packed. Reference to many chloroplasts, lots of chlorophyll. Cells positioned at the top of the leaf. Large vacuole ensures chloroplasts are at the edge of cells. 4C sucrose and amino acids. 4CII acts as a source when it is moving sucrose from a region of production, photosynthesizing. Acts as a sink when it is growing, storing, respiring, a region of utilization. 4D not all the oxygen is released, collected, measured from the plant. Some is used in respiration. Some is dissolved in the water. Therefore the rate of photosynthesis may appear lower. Actually is. 4DII1 carbon dioxide is required for photosynthesis. 2 initially carbon dioxide concentration is limiting the rate of photosynthesis. 3 after 500 μmol per decimeter 3 carbon dioxide concentration is not limiting the rate of photosynthesis. Other factors are limiting the rate of photosynthesis. 4 reference to named limiting factor. 4E initial gradient is less steep. Plateau below original line. 5I leaf. A thick cuticle, lost the least mass water. 2 leaf. C thin cuticle, lost the most mass water. 3 leaf. B medium cuticle, lost more mass or water than. A less mass or water than. C. 4 loss of mass is due to the loss of water. 5 the thicker the cuticle the less water mass lost. 6 loss of mass water, fastest initially then slows. 7 reference to transpiration, reduced evaporation. 8 data manipulation with reference to mass, e.g. calculation of loss. 5 AII less, water, mass, loss from leaves. A, B and C. Idea of the same pattern of results as the first experiment. Reduced transpiration. Increased water concentration in the air. Reference to a smaller concentration gradient. Less diffusion of water vapor. 5B stem, swollen. Root, extensive widespread, shallow root system. Deep branched. 5C carbon dioxide. 5CII respiration. Starch. Cellulose. Chlorophyll. Sucrose. Nectar. Amino acids protein. Fats, oils, nucleic acids, DNA, RNA. Growth of any named part, membrane, cell wall, cytoplasm. 3. 4 from. Photosynthesis involves enzymes. Increase in temperature increases rate of photosynthesis. Increases kinetic energy of molecules. Increases effective collisions between enzyme and substrate. Molecules. Reaction will have an optimum temperature. High temperature denatures enzymes. Increases rate of diffusion. Increased uptake of carbon dioxide molecules into leaf. 3. 3 from. Air becomes very dry. Reference to increasing the diffusion gradient for water vapor. From the air spaces in the leaf into the air surrounding the leaf. Increases rate of transpiration. Stomata close. Carbon dioxide cannot enter. 3. Record the difference in concentration of carbon dioxide between air in and air out between chamber 1 and 3 before and after. Divide by the time 15 minutes. 3 by CO2 uptake 136. CO2 release 20. 3. BIINE2 from. Carbon dioxide produced in respiration. Plants respire all the time. Carbon dioxide released in the dark is produced by respiration. Carbon dioxide released by cells is used in photosynthesis. 6. Prediction. Set A in bag will lose less mass than set B. Explanation. Because higher humidity in A. Less steep diffusion gradient in A. Less transpiration in A. 6. AIINE3 from. Water evaporates from surface of mesophyll into air spaces. Water vapor diffuses described through stomata out of leaf. 6. AE balanced scale. Stop clock timer. 6b. Letter description name of tissue. PA protective transparent layer that allows light to reach inner tissues. Upper epidermis. Q conducts water from the stem xylem. R contains many interconnected air spaces. Spongy mesophyll. S transports sucrose and amino acids phloem. T traps the most light energy to synthesize carbohydrates. Palisade mesophyll. 4. 4 from. Deep roots. To absorb water from the water table. Long and spread out below the surface. To absorb water when it rains. Root cells have low water potential. To absorb water by osmosis. From very salty soils. Roots branch many times. Have many roots hairs. To give a large surface area for absorption of water. 4. AIINE3 from. Few stomata, low stomatal density. Sunken stomata. Stomata close during the day and open at night. Rolled leaves. Thick epidermis, thick cuticle. Few, no, small, leaves. Hairs on leaves. Low rates of transpiration. 4. AENE2 from. Make, store, toxins. Make, store, foul-tasting substances. Spines, prickles, needles. Resins that trap insects. Thick inedible leaves. 4. BNE3 from. Reduce air pollution. Reduce emissions of sulfur dioxide. Use filters, scrubbers, on chimneys. Catalytic converters. Reduce use of named fossil fuels. Example of way to reduce demand for energy. Use low sulfur fossil fuels. Use alternative sources of power. Add lime to soils. To reduce mobilization of aluminium in soils. To raise pH of soils. 2. Carbon dioxide plus water. Glucose plus oxygen. 2 by temperature is a factor that affects the rate of photosynthesis. Reference to kinetic energy. Idea of effect of temperature on enzymes diffusion rate of carbon dioxide. Idea that temperature is a variable that should be standardized. 2b rate of photosynthesis increases and reaches a plateau. Rate of photosynthesis increases until 1750 A, U. 25 mu mole per meter 2 per second. Any comparative use of figures for rate. 2 BIV light intensity is the limiting factor at all light intensities used. Because rate of photosynthesis does not level off even at high light intensities. Carbon dioxide temperature chlorophyll, another factor, was not a limiting factor. Correct reference to light energy. Light is absorbed by chlorophyll. 2. Carbon dioxide is raw material, substrate, reactant. Concentration of carbon dioxide is higher outside leaf than inside, so carbon dioxide diffuses into the leaf. 2b subtract the concentration of carbon dioxide at the end from the concentration at the start. Divide by the time taken per unit time. Reference to taking rate of respiration into account. 2c light intensity. Water supply. Humidity. 2CII increases and reaches a plateau, remains constant, levels off. Increases between 10 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius, levels off at 30 degrees Celsius. Any comparative use of figures for rate with units at least once. 2 CE 36. 2 sieve temperature is the limiting factor over whole range. Increased temperature increases kinetic energy K of molecules. Increases rate of diffusion of carbon dioxide into leaf. Temperature influences, affects, activity of enzymes. Idea of more effective collisions between substrate molecules and enzymes in plant. More enzyme substrate complexes formed. More carbon dioxide is fixed, used in photosynthesis, converted into sugar. Carbon dioxide concentration is not limiting. B shows that rate of photosynthesis is higher, continues to increase if carbon dioxide is increased at all temperatures. 2D prediction. Rate of photosynthesis remains constant, decreases, slows. Any explanation 1 from enzymes, active sites, are denatured at high temperatures. Stomata close, so little, no, carbon dioxide can enter leaves. Plant is adapted to survive at high temperatures. 2A burning, use, named fuels. Deforestation. Increased human population. Example of named relevant human activity. Semicolon. 2B description. Rate of photosynthesis peaks at 12 o'clock midday, noon. Photosynthesis starts at 6 o'clock, stops at 8 p.m. Rate of photosynthesis at 5:50 ppm is greater than at 370 ppm. Both plots 550 and 370 ppm follow same trend pattern. Comparative data quote between two plots with units at least once. Explanation. Maximum light at 12 o'clock, dark until 6 o'clock, after 8 p.m. Reference to light intensity is a limiting factor. Because light is required for photosynthesis. Reference to CO2 is a limiting factor. At high atmospheric CO2, the concentration gradient to air spaces is steeper, diffusion is faster. Effective CO2 concentration is most at high light intensities. Reference to temperature is a limiting factor. Higher temperature causes increased rate of photosynthesis. 2C epidermis. Mesophyll. Feature adaptation. Transparent, clear, no chloroplasts, allows light to pass through. Thin, flat, so less cytoplasm, more light. 2. Pass through. Guard cells. Stomata allow gases to enter, leave the leaf. Gas exchange. Feature adaptation. Contains many chloroplasts. Palisade. Trapping light energy. Vertically, tightly, packed column. Shaped palisade maximize light received by cells, reduce number of cross cell walls. Contain air spaces loosely. Packed spongy. For diffusion, movement of gases. Within leaf. 4 1 mark per row, max 2 from each tissue. 2D more carbon dioxide in the blood. Low pH, acid, in blood. High carbon dioxide detected by brain. Increases impulses to named muscles used in breathing. Correct reference to negative feedback, homeostasis.